Hi folks, my name is Sean and welcome to my channel called The Business Mechanic. Whenever our vehicles break down, who are we taking it to? We are taking it to our mechanic to have it fixed. But when our businesses break down, who are we taking that to? Some cases we'll phone a friend, we'll either phone a fellow business owner, or we may even have a coach that we lean on. But nonetheless, we don't have anybody that we call to come work on our business. And that's why I'm creating the Business Mechanic. I'm trying to create a network of individuals across the United States that are able to come into your business and diag what is wrong with it, and then give you solutions or give you the proper game plan to fix your problem. And that's where we started off right now. We are in our first month of talking about leadership, communication, how we recruit, how we can interview. We were talking about onboarding and training because all these things are very vital to growing our business and stabilizing our business. We want to be able to stabilize our business first, so then we can come in and effectively fix whatever is broken. So this week, we're on week 2, Tuesday. We're talking about onboarding and training. We are talking about the people and the systems that we have created. Now, when you look at Friday, I'm going to tell you and show you how all of this funnels into how we build a strong and reputable culture. So, jumping right into this. Onboarding and training, what does it do? It builds confidence. It builds capable, aligned teams. Why does this matter, you ask? Is because most performance issues can be traced back to unclear onboarding. We have to remember that training isn't an event, it's an actual system. Because if we have that system for training, then the consistency of it will create confidence. And then leaders can rise to the level of their processes. What that means is as we continue to build our onboarding system and our training, the leaders that we are training can rise to the level of their processes. So if we have good process in place and good training, our leaders can rise above it and be effective leaders. And what does great onboarding actually look like? We set the expectations early. We build trust and we build a connection. We establish standards and the culture. We then reduce anxiety and uncertainty. We do accelerate time to competence. We have then structured, predictable, and repeatable goals. We identify clear roles and the responsibilities. And then what we also do is we early wins to the process. So if we have people that are winning already after we have already completed the process, let's recognize those. Okay? And then we are coaching, which is baked in from day one. That coaching is part of our culture. Right? And then we have documentation that actually gets used. All of this is extremely important to get this started at the beginning, and it's done at onboarding, and it's done during the training. So many times in smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses, and even large businesses, they come back afterwards. They will come back months later and try to set the expectations again. Right? They're trying to build the trust when it's already been lost, right? And then they're trying to clear the roles and the responsibilities months later when this should have already been discussed and lined out at the time of onboarding. So what happens is now we've gotten to a point that the employee is probably not being effective. They're probably holding back the team. They've slowed down the momentum. And then when we go to ask the individual, what is the problem or what is causing this? A lot of times we can trace it all the way back to the onboarding, that the expectations for that individual were not set properly. So that person is also at fault because they didn't speak up. So if a person was to come to you and you just went through onboarding and they asked you, how did it go? Well, I mean, we can tell. I mean, if our onboarding, if we are going to work for a company and it's a multi-store company and they generate millions of dollars a year and our onboarding only lasts 5 minutes, chances are it probably wasn't an effective onboarding process. Or our training. Let's say the training lasted a half a day and then you're shadowing somebody for the rest of the week. Red flags. So, what are the 4 stages of onboarding? And this is the other part of it, because in some cases, some companies will overcomplicate onboarding and training. They will throw too much at once, and they will go over things that aren't necessarily needed to go over. So, let's just break it down. What are the 4 stages of onboarding? 1, orientation. Who we are, how we operate, role clarity. What does success look like inside of that role? Skill ramp up, training, shadowing, repetition. Okay, and then we have integration of it all, which is the accountability, the feedback, and the independence. Independence is the last piece of a successful onboarding process. What do leaders do? What is their role in all of this? The leader sets the tone. Now, I don't want you to misconstrue that. What I mean by setting the tone is they're coming in and basically letting you know this is our culture. This is how we are. This is how we act. This is how we react. This is how we handle things. And this is the order of events that we take. And these are the people that we involve. That's setting the tone. Then they're reinforcing the standards. They start coaching early and often. And then through all of it, they are protecting the process from shortcuts. Because a lot of times what will happen is somebody will be training, the trainer talking to the trainee will start to show shortcuts, workarounds. Don't do it that way. If you hear that as a leader, put an end to it immediately. Because regardless if the system is over cumbersome or it has a lot of steps to it, but it's been tried and true, then you need to keep that integrity there. And then over time, if you want to show a shortcut or a workaround, then by all means do it. But in order to have an effective shortcut or workaround, we have to know what we are, working around. So be careful with that. Protect the process and make sure that the trainer is not training shortcuts. Because what then will happen in some cases is the trainee will make their own shortcut of the shortcut. And that's when real problems start to happen. So what is training versus telling? Right? Telling is do it like this. Telling is one-way communication. And telling, and there's no skill development. In training, we are demonstrating, we are practicing it, we are open to feedback, we are repeating it, we are building confidence, we are creating consistency, and we are producing measurable improvement. That's training. I use the example a lot of times of 2 + 2 is 4. We all know this. But when we go and tell somebody and we correct them, let's say they put 2 + 2 = 5. Well, telling them and correcting it is just going to erase the 5, put a 4 in there, and walk away. But what will happen? They will put a 5 down again because that's the way they think it should be completed. So in order for them to get rid of the mindset of the 5, we have to train them and teach them how we get to 4. Big difference. Make sure you really understand that, because it will help you immensely when you are training somebody. What is the training loop? What's the circle? How do we get from here to here? 1, we teach. We explain the what, the why. We show. We demonstrate the how. We do. We let them practice. We do a review. Let them give feedback. And then we do what? Repeat. We add consistency. We build muscle memory. What are some of the common onboarding failures? These are some of the ones that I have seen over the years. 1, we do shadowing too early and not long enough. There's not a written process. There's no follow-up. There's no measurement. And then the leaders assume instead of identifying or verifying. A lot of times I will hear, especially at automotive repair shops, I will have somebody that comes in, they will have 10 minutes of onboarding, sign here, 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 and here. They'll watch 2 videos, they're trained, and then they go shadow for the rest of the week. That's the most ineffective way of onboarding an individual. Now, I understand personnel is a big piece of that, and we need to have the right people and enough people to have a strong onboarding process and a strong training process. But I'm going to ask you one question. What is your turnover percentage right now? If it is high, then you have enough money to invest into an additional person to help eliminate that. And a lot of times to eliminate our turnover is right here. It sits in our onboarding and training piece. Now, how do we fix it? We document the process. We standardize the first 30 days. And what that means is we set the expectations, we set the program, we set the day-to-day, and we do not deviate from it. When I'm training and coaching owners and district managers, I tell them discipline is going to be your number one word. Because if you do not discipline yourself, you cannot standardize for the first 30 days. If you cannot discipline yourself, you become a firefighter instead of an effective manager. So, build checkpoints. Train the trainers. We've heard that countless times. And then make coaching a daily habit. Make it a part of your everyday conversation. I challenge all my management teams to always have a day of training. Every day. Have something new to talk about. In a lot of cases, depending on what the job is they do, if they're working out in the warehouse or if they're working in the shop, I will make sure that the shop foreman always brings a safety topic. Talk about safety every day. Bring a safety topic to the conversation. For advisors, bring a sales topic, but always be training. So what is 30 days? What does that look like from a framework standpoint? 1, we talked about the orientation, culture, and the basic tasks. That's week 1. Week 2, we talk about skill development, and we start looking at shadowing for week 3. Then we start talking about independent reps with coaching. So then we go, and that's what that means is we're going to talk to our vendors and asking if they're having any reps available that can come out and coach our new individual. And then week 4, we start talking about the performance review, and then we start looking at the next steps. So week 4, what we do is we pull all our leaders in, we sit down the individual, and then we go over the performance of them for that last 4 weeks. And then we identify what the next steps are. Do we need another 2 weeks of training? Do we need another 2 weeks of shadowing? Do we need another, whatever it may be? Or that person is ready to become independent, take ownership, and go do the job that we hired them for. So how do we measure the success? How we measure that is the amount of time it takes to the first independent task, which I just talked about in the last slide. What is their accuracy and consistency? How is the customer experience indicators? What is their confidence level? What it's self-reported plus observed. One thing I like to do is I like to bring out a sheet of some certain characteristics or traits of an individual. And I let the individual rate themselves, and then I let their leader rate them. And I see how close they are. If they are totally separated, then we've got some identifying that we need to do. And that's when we start bringing in the leader feedback. So what is the real goal here? The real goal is to create a system where people feel supported, expectations are clear, training is ongoing, and leaders are coaching instead of correcting. And then we can predict success, and it's not accidental. So if we know that if we do all of our processes correct, we set all the expectations correct, our training is completed, our onboarding has been done correctly, we can predict the success versus success accidentally happening. So in closing, 1, onboarding isn't just paperwork. And 2, training isn't just a meeting. Both are leadership systems. And when you build them intentionally, your people will grow faster, your teams will strengthen, your culture will get better and increase, and your results become consistent. And that's when you can start predicting your own success for your company and for your customers. It's exciting stuff, guys. So, tomorrow, Wednesday, we're going to talk about performance management. Because once we have recruited them, once we have interviewed them, we've hired them, we've gone through the onboarding, we've gone through the training, now we're going to talk about the performance management of them. And that's where it becomes key. That's where we start building our culture, and that's where we start retaining our employees. That's where we start reducing our turnover. That's where we start putting in longevity into our employees. So, as always, everybody, be kind and let's get to work.